Hello and welcome to Media Out Loud, a platform made by students for students. In today's episode, we're going to talk about nerdy and geek things with Elger and Lea. Then we're going to go to the question of the day segment, and then we're going to tell you all the tips and tricks for the ongoing modules. Let's get started with Elger and Lea in the studio. Hello, Elger and Lea, and thank you for being with us here today. We are going to have a very interesting discussion about TV shows, movies, and pop culture. So let's get started. And I want to ask you, what are your favorite TV shows and movies?
There's so much to choose from. What is my favorite kind of depends on my mood and what's on right now. And yesterday I watched the first episode of the new season of Better Call Saul, which is really good.
Nice.
I would say at this, if you were to ask me what at this point is my favorite show, then that's that one. Is that where you were going with this?
Yeah, and what about your all-time favorite TV shows and movies?
Sometimes I go back to stuff that I watched when I was younger, and I love TV. I'm not actually really into film that much. One of the first shows that I watched when I was a kid was a show called Robin of Sherwood. It was made in the 1980s, and it was the first modern interpretation of the legend of Robin Hood. Modern storytelling, still set in the Middle Ages, of course. And that was really great, and so it was on TV in the 1980s, so confusing to how old I am, but, and we had recorded it on VHS, so if it was a rainy day like it is today, and we were bored, my mom would say, just put on a tape of Robin Hood and let's watch that.
Nice.
And we would, like with my friends, we would go out in the woods and play
Yeah,
Robin
that's
Hood.
also cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was a really good show, and it's it really modernized. It's still going back to it. It's still it holds up in certain ways. So the characters are still really interesting, and it's very fascinating. And just they made it the legend believable. The music is terrible. It's very synthy, very 80s synth. Which is very you can't watch the show without it because it's such an integral part of it. But if I ever show it to other people who don't know it, they get turned off by the music because it's very synthy and very 80s. So that's what dates it the most. And the acting is not very good actually.
Yeah. What about you, Lea?
I mean, the first show that really got me hooked or introduced me to the world of pop culture was, I guess, Star Trek, the original series. I watched it with my father when I was young. And acting-wise, I couldn't show this to anyone today. I tried to show it to my best friend, an episode of it, and she was like, this is so bad. The acting, the special effects, like dogs and costumes. Stuff like this, but it's really got me hooked.
Actually, I rewatched the original series of Star Trek as well last year to see if there was any sort of really good stuff in it. And a couple of things that I noticed is that, first of all, William Shatner is really, really handsome. He is a handsome man. But especially in the first, if you go back now, in the first couple of episodes, he's really, really good looking, and he starts sort of, expanding a little bit after about episode 8 or so. Yes. Apparently, he was eating a lot of hamburgers between takes. But what's more interesting that William Shatner's acting gets worse also throughout. Yes. So he starts out as a pretty decent actor, but he doesn't become sort of William Shatner until the end of season 1.
It all gets very, very dramatic, very quick. All his expressions and his reactions to whatever happens are just completely out of place. Also, a lot of ripped shirts.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Star Wars, I'm sorry, so I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. But I've heard about it.
Yeah. You can still start.
Yes.
Yeah, should I? Do you recommend it to me?
I mean, the first show that really got me hooked, or introduced me to pop culture was, I guess, Star Trek, the original series. I watched it with my father when I was young. I watched it with my family.
Yes, but also if you have a life, then maybe not.
Also, it's kind of hard to get into it now, I guess. You have to start from you have to have a certain connection to it from the beginning.
I think so too. Yeah. If you want to get into Star Trek, I think Next Generation holds up a little bit better.
Yeah.
What about the new Star Trek show?
I haven't seen the Picard. You have seen.
I've seen Picard, like the first 2 or 3 episodes, I guess, and it was like it really hit me with all the feelings I had for the Next Generation, and just to see all these characters again, these throwbacks, these references to the older series. I don't know if all of that makes it a good show at this point, because it's a lot of drama and just it does not feel like a classic Star Trek at the moment yet. But I don't know what will happen, so I'll go on with that, I guess.
Yeah, nice. What about the IT Crowd or Black Books? Have you watched these?
Yes, well, those are some of my favorite comedy shows. They're from, these two are both from the early 2000s.
I was born.
Yeah, I know.
When I was born.
Yeah, so Black Books is from, I think, 2002 or something when it came out. I don't know, like humor is very culturally specific, but it's just something that it's a show that I really like, especially the first season. I think it's really, really funny. It's a good, just from a technical point of view, it's really well-written comedy. It is sort of old-fashioned. It's very sort of male-centric, and we have only one female character. It's just kind of sort of like the Smurfette symptom. But still, it's really well written, and I love, especially the first season of Black Books, how the episodes are built up. It's a good exercise in how to write a good sitcom.
Okay.
Do you know Black Books?
I think just from your lectures, actually.
Yeah. Oh, I showed.
Yes,
maybe I showed, yeah.
content one.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Black Books is about a grumpy bookshop owner. And he doesn't like people coming into his bookshop. That's kind of the... and he has a silly assistant and a lady who works next door in the shop next door. And that's kind of the setting. And but yeah, no, I love how it escalates. And that's also for... also with the IT Crowd, sort of similar. It's and the IT Crowd is about 2 nerds who work at the IT department of a big anonymous organization. And they just get up to silly little adventures and
yeah, sounds good. What about the Queer Eye or?
Oh, that's very different. It's a different genre. Do you have thoughts on Queer Eye?
I mean, I can honestly say I think I cried a little after every episode.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, good. It like really gets to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still kind of a reality show, and you know that it's partly at least scripted, but it's so heartwarming to see like this very personal stories and like this development in them. So if you haven't watched that, I can only recommend that because that's also an easier barrier to get into, I guess.
Yeah, I think so too.
Good to know.
Yeah, and what I like about it, or one of the things that I like about it as well, that it's a very positive form of masculinity in the show. It's
Definitely.
like it's how many are there? Like 5 or so? 5 guys?
Yeah, 5, yeah.
And obviously they're all gay. That's the point of the show. But they're all sort of have their own little speciality, and also they're very different personality-wise. But they're all good. I think they're really good role models for men, and I think especially young men growing up to see, hey, this is how I can be as a man in a very sort of nice, non-toxic
That's important.
way. Yeah, no, it's. I think
also,
it's.
they're not also like all the same like gay stereotype you might have in mind. It's like very different people from different backgrounds with different stories, which makes it also very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. What about the media overall these days? What keeps you busy?
That's a big question.
I know you have a group on Facebook. It's called the Cult Exchange.
Oh, right, yes.
Can you tell us more about it?
Oh, yeah. So the Cult Exchange is a Facebook group that my colleague Sonia started many years ago with the idea of people just sharing interesting stuff in this group. I guess Facebook is not that popular anymore amongst people of your generation.
Yeah, Instagram is
yeah, exactly.
better.
Yeah. So we used to have quite a lot of students posting stuff there as well, and interesting stuff they shared, and it still happens, just not as much anymore. So mostly it's now a handful of teachers who I don't know, read the Guardian and post some stuff there, and just stuff that people are talking about. So yeah, no. For example, like why Queer Eye is interesting. So thinking about thinking about masculinity, these sorts of issues. I think that's interesting. Mental health issues are interesting. Lots of stuff is interesting.
Yeah, like I think the last article I read from there was how The Good Place and BoJack Horseman shaped comedy.
Yeah,
that was really interesting as well. Also with The Good Place now ending, unfortunately. But, I mean, it ended on good terms, and like to the producers' terms also.
Yeah, and I think it's also good that things end as well, because that's also just coming back to what we were saying about Star Trek. Like, as much as I love those old shows, and also it's good that it's in the past, and I think that's one of the terrible things that happened with the Star Wars reboot. It turned out awful, and it's almost like running into an ex, and you sort of feel for a minute like, oh right, maybe we should have been a thing, but no, it's good. There's a reason this relationship ended. And then so it's the same with television. Like, you can still go back, and there's we have stuff that's streaming online, we have DVDs, and we can access all the old stuff. But I don't know if we should do I want to relive this show from the early or late 80s, early 90s, and no. And they say made the same mistake with Arrested Development, for example. Like, there's a huge, very a powerful fan base, and I was among that, and loved that show when it first was on TV, when it came out, and then it disappeared, and everybody said, "Oh, let's get this back," and you get it back, and then
it's just not the same.
It's not the same.
It's like reheating.
Yeah,
food.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which with spaghetti. Spaghetti is better the second time. No? Oh,
I don't support
Okay. Well, that's okay.
Lea, do you have other interests, such as music or video games?
Music, of course, a little on the side, especially rock music. But for me recently, I've gotten more into heavily story-based video games.
Nice.
For example, Detroit Become Human or God of War, stuff like that. But also from my upbringing, I always play a lot of board games, which kind of continued until now. I have a friend group with whom we do board game evenings every now and then.
Oh, that's also fun.
It is, with the right people, I suppose. But it's mostly about social deduction games, like the classics, like Werewolf, or a rather new one would be Human Punishment, which is about humans against machines, against rogues, or one that was also created or or at least voiced by Will Wheaton, is Secret Hitler. It sounds worse, and I know I'm German, but please listen.
Well, Hitler was Austrian anyway, so...
That's true.
Yeah.
Where you basically take on the roles of liberals, of fascists, and it's your goal to either make Hitler the president or make as many liberal rules and laws as possible. Well, basically the fascists try to make Hitler the president, that's their goal in the game, and the liberals just try to make as many democratic laws as possible, while at the same time trying to solve the mystery around who's Hitler. And at some point during the game you might get a card that says not Hitler. Everyone's very happy then, but basically it's kind of a voting system, and based on that you can then see, who might be my ally, who might be against me. And the fascists know who each other is, and they also know who Hitler is, but all the others are just clueless, basically. So it can be fun.
Like real life?
Yeah. Kind of. Who doesn't like accusing their friend of being fascist?
Elger, what's your special hobby?
Yes, well, I kind of hesitate to talk about this because everyone is on the illusion that I'm this really cool, interesting person, but but this is going to shatter your illusion then. But on the other hand, then also it kind of proves, and this also kind of makes me feel good, is that at the same time it also makes me king of the nerds, because I know you see yourself as a nerd, but with your games, but it's nothing, because what I do, what I live for, really, what I'm like, I work here and I make money, and all I want to do with my money is buy model airplanes. Like, this is like the thing that I live for. I live so that I work so that I have money, and also I have time to put together tiny little plastic airplanes. So that's above anything else. It's my well, I love my wife and my baby too, but but sort of quite close to that is building model airplanes. Yeah.
That's nice. Can you tell us more about it?
I can talk for hours about this. I can bore you to death about this, but it's.
How did you get into it?
Well, my dad was always making stuff when I was growing up, and making models with wood and stuff, and then so started as a kid doing that, and I bought. Well, first I was into boats. Like, I had like plastic little boats, and then at some point I said, I'll buy a plane, and then this was when I was about 11, and then I built it, and I said, this is it, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And then I've been pretty much doing it since I was about 11 or 12. I've been, no. So I started building boats when I was 11, and then I switched to planes when I was 13. And all through high school, and you can imagine how popular I was with it. But then I'm exaggerating a little bit, because at some point you run into people and they also have this secret passion, and then you bond a little bit, so that's really nice. It's a great way just to spend time, and it has, I did a little bit of research about this, it has good psychological benefits. It's mindfulness. We can put it in those terms. You're very focused, and it's very quiet, and you're just focused on one thing, and you can just really zone out, and all your problems fade away to the background.
But does it get exhausting at some point?
After some hours?
Yes. Well, and actually, this weekend I spent some time on the model, and I was doing it. This is really dumb stuff. It's wasted. I'm having fun with it, but it's objectively really stupid what I do. I was doing a particular activity. I was doing it for hours, and I was just sort of sitting hunched over, and my back was hurting at the end. Yeah. So. But it's very satisfying. You sort of, then after a couple of hours, you're done with your thing, and then you look at it and think, I made that.
Yeah. What's your favorite airplane?
My favorite airplane. So many. My favorite airplane is the genre that I build airplanes from the Second World War. So that's my little niche. It's nice and defined. And from that period, my favorite plane is a British light bomber called the de Havilland Mosquito. And it's a beautiful airplane as well. So and it was very good, but it was unexpectedly good. And the reason it was unexpected because at that time people made airplanes out of metal. Like this was like we're done building planes out of wood. We're going to build a plane out. All planes were made out of metal, but then the de Havilland company said no. We're going to build a plane out of wood. So they did that. And so it was a very innovative design, and nobody believed in it, but then in the end it turned out to be really good. Yeah. So the de Havilland Mosquito is my favorite plane. If I had to make a choice.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna end this segment. Anything you would like to add?
Well, which category or like area would you consider yourself to be the biggest nerd in?
Good question.
I think the model plane thing is like if you give me an airplane type, a prompt or something, I can tell you everything about the airplane type, but I can also tell you exactly how to build the best possible model of it. So if you give me like a brand or something, I can tell you when it was made, when it was first produced, and there's so much of my brain space. I keep myself up at night thinking about new projects. And this is
you're very passionate about this.
It's what are you the biggest nerd in?
Oh God.
I
could have expected this. I think growing up, it was basically the Marvel Cinematic Universe because that's what got me hooked for partly next to Star Trek. But I like to say today it's basically sci-fi content in any shape or form, like be it shows like Star Trek or Doctor Who or movies, or just reading how the physics on the Enterprise would actually have worked, like this area. I would say I'm the biggest nerd.
Nice.
But I think it's good to be in the company of nerds.
Yes, we are very interesting people.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yes, definitely you are.
That wasn't patronizing at all.
I feel very comfortable now.
Yes.
Moving on to the question of the day. Which fictional character would you ask for life advice? Would it be Superman, Batman, or...
Well, we were talking a little bit right before the recordings. There's a Twitter account called Picard Tips. I think it's called Picard Tips. And it's the character of Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek Next Generation, and he just gives life advice. And it's like if anyone is into or wants to have good leadership advice, it's actually a really interesting Twitter account to follow. So I think just life advice, I think Jean-Luc Picard gives good life advice.
Nice.
That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Lea?
I've been going through every fictional character I know in like a very short amount of time, but I think I got stuck with the Doctor from Doctor Who. Like, I don't even know which version, but just there's so much knowledge and experience in this one character, and he or she has seen so much that I guess you could actually go for life advice to them.
Nice.
But is it practical advice that the Doctor gives?
I don't know, but at least probably not. It's probably going to be very confusing, but it might make you think and
that's true.
keep you going to find your own solution.
Yeah.
It's probably not very helpful at all, but the knowledge that there's something behind the answer you get, even though it's not helpful.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you very much for being here with us today. And yeah, have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you. Jonas, which fictional character would you ask for life advice?
That's a good question. Willy Wonka.
Which fictional character would you ask for life advice?
Spider-Man.
Eddie, which fictional character would you ask for life advice?
I think Genie from Aladdin. Yeah. She knows everything basically.
Hello, which fictional character would you ask for life advice?
Probably Mike from Suits.
Nice. What about you?
I'll take Sherlock Holmes.
Nice. Hello, which fictional character would you ask for life advice?
Probably Professor Spencer Reed from Criminal Minds.
Nice. Hello, which fictional character would you ask for life advice?
I would ask Supergirl.
Hello, which fictional character would you ask for life advice?
I think Doctor Strange, because he can travel back in time and answer all my questions.
Nice. Okay. Hello, which fictional character would you ask for life advice?
I would ask for advice from Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby, the movie. It's a very good movie. And the guy's very intelligent. I like his style and stuff, so.
Nice, thank you. Hello, which fictional character would you ask for life advice?
Probably a Gandalf from The Lord of the Rings.
Good to know, thank you.
That's it.
Tune in for the next episode of Media Out Loud. What topic would you like to see more? Leave your opinions and suggestions in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.